Let me start with a question that's been on the minds of more and more people lately, especially folks over 55. How much gold and silver should you actually own? If you've been watching what's happening in the economy, the headlines, the rising debt, the inflation numbers that don't tell the whole story, you probably already sense that something's not quite right. You feel it when you go to the grocery store. You feel it when you fill your gas tank. You see it when your retirement account bounces up and down with every speech from the Federal Reserve. And if you're being honest, you've probably wondered, is my money really safe anymore? That's not paranoia. No. Many experts would rather call that wisdom. Because the truth is, we're living in a time when traditional financial systems are stretched to their limits. The U.S. government is drowning in debt. The dollar's purchasing power keeps eroding, and the market feels more like a casino than a safe place to store a lifetime of savings. So, what can you do about it? You can take control, calmly, intelligently, and decisively, by owning something real, something that doesn't rely on politicians, central banks, or paper promises. And that's why today, I want to talk about gold and silver, what they can do for you, and how to think about how much you might want to own before you're priced out. Now, let me be clear right from the start. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm not here to tell you what to buy or how much. My goal is to help you think clearly about how precious metals fit into your own financial picture, depending on your age, your comfort with risk, and your goals for the future. Because here's the thing, gold and silver aren't just investments. They're insurance for your wealth. They're like a safety net you hope you'll never have to rely on, but you're awfully glad it's there when things get rough. Let's start with the big picture. Over the past 100 years, the US dollar has lost roughly 97% of its purchasing power. That's not a typo. What you could buy for $1 in 1925 would cost about $30 today. The dollar's decline hasn't been sudden. It's been slow, steady, and almost invisible to most people. But it's real. And it's the reason retirees today need far more savings to live the same lifestyle their parents enjoyed. Meanwhile, gold has done the opposite. It's held its purchasing power. 1 ounce of gold could buy a good suit 100 years ago, and it still can today. That's the magic of real, tangible value. It doesn't depend on paper. It doesn't depend on promises. It depends on history, scarcity, and trust. So when people ask me, how much gold and silver should I have? I tell them this. The answer depends on who you are, how old you are, and what kind of sleep you want at night. If you're in your early 50s, still working, still a decade or so away from full retirement, you've got a blend of priorities. You want your money to grow, but you also want protection from inflation and the kind of market shocks we've seen over the past few years. You've still got time, but you've also got responsibilities. Maybe kids in college, maybe aging parents, maybe a mortgage that's almost paid off. For people in this stage, owning a meaningful portion of your savings in gold and silver may be enough to balance out the riskier assets in your portfolio. Can make sense. You're not trying to get rich quick. You're trying to build a foundation that lasts. Now, if you're in your 60s, that's a different story. You've probably already retired or are getting close. Your number one priority isn't growth anymore. It's protection. You don't want surprises. You don't want to see your nest egg drop 25% in a year. You want to know that your savings will be there for you and your spouse for the rest of your lives. For you, gold and silver aren't just smart. They're essential because at this stage, it's not about chasing returns. It's about preserving purchasing power. And if you're in your 70s or older, your focus is crystal clear: stability, simplicity, and legacy. You don't want to juggle a dozen accounts or worry about the next market crash. You want your money to be safe, your income to be predictable, and your family to be protected. Gold and silver can help you do that. They're the quiet, steady part of your wealth that doesn't depend on Wall Street. They're the assets you can pass on to your kids or grandkids, knowing they'll still have value decades from now. Now, let's look at it another way. Not by age, but by risk tolerance. Some people are naturally cautious. They sleep better knowing their money is safe, even if it means giving up a little growth. For them, owning a larger amount of gold and silver makes sense. It's peace of mind. It's knowing that no matter what happens, whether the market crashes, the dollar weakens, or the government starts printing money again, part of their wealth is protected in physical, tangible form. Others are more comfortable with risk. They don't mind the ups and downs of the market because they believe they can recover. But even for these folks, having some exposure to gold and silver is like carrying an umbrella. You might not need it every day, but when the storm comes, you'll be thankful you have it. The key is balance. Too little exposure to precious metals, and you leave yourself vulnerable to inflation and currency devaluation. Too much, and you might limit your flexibility or liquidity. That's why thinking in ranges, not exact numbers, makes sense. Historically, many conservative investors have held somewhere between 10% and 20% of their assets in precious metals. Again, not as a rule, but as a principle. It's about protection, not speculation. For some people, it might be 5%. For others, it might be 25%. What matters most is that you've got something real in your portfolio. Because here's the truth. There's a window of opportunity right now, and it's closing fast. Gold and silver prices are still within reach, but that may not last. Demand from central banks, international buyers, and private investors has been climbing for years. Central banks around the world, especially outside the United States, are buying record amounts of gold. Why? Because they see what's coming. They understand that paper currencies don't last forever. They're diversifying into something real. You should be too. If you wait until everyone else panics, it'll be too late. Prices will jump, supply will tighten, and you'll be sitting there wishing you'd acted sooner. That's what I mean by before you're priced out. Precious metals are one of those rare assets that get more expensive right when people realize they need them most. That's why it's so important to take action while things are still relatively calm. And this is where a trusted partner makes all the difference. Because if you're new to precious metals, the process can feel confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Companies like Augusta Precious Metals make it simple, safe, and transparent. They specialize in helping retirees move a portion of their savings from an IRA or 401k into physical gold and silver through what's called a gold IRA. This isn't some complicated trading scheme. It's real, tangible ownership of metals, held securely in an IRS-approved storage facility. You maintain full control, and the process is designed to protect your privacy and your peace of mind. Augusta's reputation is second to none. They're known for their honesty, their educational approach, and their genuine care for retirees. When you call them, you're not talking to a high-pressure salesperson. You're talking to someone who takes the time to answer your questions, explain your options, and help you make informed decisions. And here's what I love most about that. They don't just sell gold, they teach. They want you to understand the why behind every decision. That's rare these days. Now, I want to paint you a picture. Something real. Imagine you're sitting at your kitchen table, maybe with a cup of coffee, looking over your retirement accounts. You've got your statements, your balances, your plans. You feel proud. You've worked hard, saved diligently, done everything right. But in the back of your mind, there's that quiet voice. What if? What if inflation keeps eating away at my savings? What if the market crashes again? What if the dollar keeps falling? That voice is there for a reason. It's your intuition telling you it's time to shore up your defenses. Now imagine you've taken the step. You've called Augusta Precious Metals, learned about your options, and moved a portion of your savings into physical gold and silver. You know it's safe, insured, and real. You can almost feel the difference in your body. That tension in your chest starts to ease. You're no longer just watching the financial storm from the deck of a ship. You're wearing a life jacket. That's what real peace of mind feels like. Gold and silver aren't about fear. They're about freedom. Freedom from worry. Freedom from dependence on systems that don't always have your best interest at heart. Freedom to know that no matter what happens, part of your wealth is safe, private, and enduring. And if you're wondering, when's the best time to do this? The answer is simple: before you're priced out. Looking at charts from the past, the answer could be as simple as to start right now. Look, I've seen it happen again and again. People wait too long. They wait for the perfect moment, for prices to drop, for the headlines to calm down. And by the time they finally decide to act, gold and silver have already jumped 20, 30, sometimes 50% higher. Don't let that be you. Take the time now, before the rush, to educate yourself. Visit Augusta Precious Metals. Learn how the process works, ask your questions, and see how gold and silver can fit into your retirement strategy. Whether you're 55 or 75, there's no better time to take that step than now. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about money. It's about security, dignity, and peace. It's about protecting the fruits of your labor and making sure your family's future is safe. It's about knowing you've done the smart thing, the responsible thing, the wise thing. You can't control inflation. You can't control markets. You can't control Washington, but you can control how prepared you are. And the people who prepare now, before the crowd, are the ones who come out ahead. So if you've been thinking about it, stop waiting. Take that first step today. Talk to the experts at Augusta Precious Metals. Ask them how much gold and silver might make sense for you. Get the facts, get the peace of mind, and get ahead before you're priced out. Because wealth isn't just about numbers. It's about control. It's about confidence. It's about knowing that when the storm comes, and it always does, you've built a foundation strong enough to weather it. Gold and silver aren't the future. They're the past, the present, and the constant that ties it all together. They've been protecting families for thousands of years. They'll protect yours too, if you act now. So do it calmly, wisely, confidently. Do it while the door is still open. Do it before you're priced out. If you are interested in learning more about investing in precious metals, watch this video next. I wish you a great day. Goodbye.